Right, Farida Myburgh, Program Manager at Masimanyane Women's Rights International, joins us now. Thank you so much, Farida, for your time this afternoon. So, as the Minister rightfully pointed out, the judge was scathing towards the state in making her final verdict, especially given the amount of evidence that was before her over the past 8 years. Your reaction?
Good afternoon to you and the viewers. Thank you for having me on your program. Yes, as an organization, we are actually quite disturbed by the outcome yesterday, especially that this comes at a time when the country is calling for justice for Swekwe. It's obvious now that our judicial system, and this includes that, are tone deaf to crimes committed against women and children. We are extremely disappointed that this case was lost on technicality. The NPA had 8 years, as the Minister has rightly said, 8 years to prepare this case to make sure that there were no loopholes, that every I was dotted and every T was crossed. And for 8 years, there's been no closure for any of the victims of this heinous crime. And this is, unfortunately, what we have on a daily basis in our courts. And the failure of the prosecution to cross-examine the accused and co-accused is a serious indictment on the NPA. And for us, it leaves any layperson to question their state of readiness for a case. And unfortunately, I have to say that as a nation, we have been consistently reassured that Shamila Batoy and her team are on top of the game. But this showed us that they dropped the ball. And as a result, we now have someone that is a perpetrator that is in our country that should have actually been locked up. And unfortunately, now he has walked because of this. So I support what I've just heard about the Minister saying that they have to answer, the DPP has to respond on this. And at the end of the day, these victims and victims of GBV generally cannot get closure because of bungled cases by role players in the judicial system. We must also not forget that with this case, it also tied the murder of the community activist from Gqeberha High Court, who was supporting witnesses in this case. And there's been nobody that has been taken into custody. It sends out fears to other activists and whistleblowers who want to come forward on GBV cases. And this was a very high-profile case.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Farida, I was going to ask you that because the National Prosecuting Authority says it is exploring all other options to ensure that justice is ultimately served for the complainants. But in the event that this does make its way back to court, what would it do, to those complainants and those that are, yet to come forward for other crimes, for other similar crimes, because this case has exposed a number of issues, including trafficking, including, of course, the role of churches, etc. What do you think that this will then do to those complainants if, again, this has to start from scratch?
One thing that we are concerned about as Masimanyane Women's Rights International is not just the victimization, the secondary victimization, the living this case over and over for those victims. 8 years is a long time. And we would expect that with all the psychological support and counseling, but every time you have to go into that courtroom, you relive that over and over again. And at the end of the day, what is traumatizing is how these victims have been ostracized. They've been ostracized, they've been shamed, they've been labeled, and they've been labeled also by members of this church. And the church seems to, we looked at the videos yesterday on TV. You saw the jubilation and how they were carrying on about how well this worked out for them. But at the end of the day, we have to remember that there are these victims of Omotoso and those co-accused that were there that need to get all the psychological support and the counseling again. They will relive their trauma. They will never have a situation in their lives where they will come to peace with us. And this is what is very concerning for us as activists.
And I mean, this story is just one of many that has shocked South Africans, and the verdict was delivered at a time where South Africans were reacting to yet another rape, this time of a 7-year-old little girl in Matatiele in the Eastern Cape. And, more rapes have since been uncovered of young children in that particular area in Matatiele, a 7-year-old boy also being allegedly raped. When one sees all of these cases cropping up, and then you juxtapose this with this outcome of this long-standing rape case, I mean, what does that then say in terms of the message to those parents who've time and time again have refused essentially to put their children in those circumstances where they have to testify in the courts?
For us, what concerns us is that we keep promising the public, we keep promising, I'm saying government, keep promising the public and keep promising us that the judiciary is ready to handle these cases and that it takes GBV seriously. To us, with this continuously happening, the bungling of the cases, victims that never get to survivor because they are reliving their trauma on a daily basis. When these cases drag out, this is just one case, the Omotoso case, that we saw for 8 years. But there are so many other cases that take so long. DNA processing takes so long. Every single part, it's like they drag their feet when this has to happen. And it's really, we may say that we are not walking the talk. We are just talking. We have all these policies in place. We have all of these systems that we say we're having, but nobody talks to each other. I mean, we also, as Masimanyane Women's Rights International, we have the 2 TCCs, the Tutuzela Care Centers at Masimanyane and at Gqeberha Hospital. And we know what are the challenges that we are facing when it comes to these cases, when it comes to DNA being tested, when it comes to us preparing the victims to go to court. But when you get to the court, then you find there's some bungling in terms of the dockets. There are challenges with regard to the cases. The cases are not ready for trial, but they are there. And in this case, unfortunately, we had what I call an incompetent prosecutor.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you and I are lay people. I think I watch too many movies on shows where there are court cases. I even know if someone tells me something, I must cross-examine that evidence that they are giving me. They had 8 days to do this. They had 8 days allowed, and they took 30 minutes.
Yeah.
A case that was so complex. You have to actually ask yourself, did they know what they were doing? And from my perspective, when I was looking at this, I said to myself, we need answers. We need answers as the public. We need answers to who did what and why did they do that and what are the consequences that are going to be there as a result of this case in Bango.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people also saying that this points out to some processes within various sectors within the legal framework, because we're questioning about, the judicial side of things, but we also have law enforcement authorities at SAPS level too, to question. But Farida, thank you so much, just for weighing in on this very difficult conversation. Farida Myburgh, the program manager at Masimanyane Women's Rights International. Thank you so much for your time.